If any match summed up the criticism so often aimed at Jose Mourinho, it was a wounding night under the lights at Old Trafford against Sevilla. After 180 minutes of largely prosaic and unambitious football, it was an overly cautious Manchester United side that limped out of the tournament. The Red Devils could hardly have landed a sweeter draw, but somehow conspired to mess it up. It took United until the 38th minute to muster their first shot on target on Tuesday evening, which was just their second of the entire tie, as Sevilla took control of the match. Anyone unfamiliar with the two teams would have thought the side in black were playing at home. They peppered David De Gea's goal and finally found a deserved breakthrough 87 seconds after second-half substitute Wissam Ben Yedder had entered the fray. He added another moments later as a despondent United wilted. They showed momentary signs of fight and genuine attacking intent only when it was too late, with Romelu Lukaku netting little more than a consolation goal. And so it was Sevilla 27 points behind leaders Barcelona in 5th place in La Liga and who shipped 5 goals in the group stages against Liverpool, who progressed against the odds. Mourinho's team selection gave the clearest indication yet of both the players he trusts and those he does not, as well as underlining the characteristics he values most. He went for a full Soliders eye, with Mourinho Fellaini's inclusion in the starting lineup making it patently clear that this was a formation and personnel designed to stifle and frustrate, not dominate and attack. The very brief, very early signs were promising. Lukaku showed his self-proclaimed soldier mentality with his first involvement in the match, barging Simon Kjaer off the ball with ease. But that moment, just a minute into the match, was the high point of a match that went downhill very fast and only highlighted that United's mentality was to scrap not sparkle. With Paul Pogba omitted from the starting side, United were deprived of the Frenchman's willingness to get on the ball and they completely forfeited the midfield battle as ever Banega and Steven Nzonzi took control for the hosts. If the latter is not a Premier League player next season, then he needs a new agent. More worrying still, United looked no more solid for Pogba's absence despite that clearly being Mourinho's priority, with Sevilla still finding gaps and spaces. Pogba came onto the field after an hour looking hungry for redemption and ready to change the game for United. He immediately showed for the ball with a confidence and assumed authority that Fellaini did not, but it was misplaced. He gave the ball away in dangerous positions and walked around the pitch, pressing erratically, leaving Nemanja Matic exposed in the middle of the pitch. Sevilla exploited that immediately. It is clear why Mourinho was so reluctant to field his club record signing, but they look so pedestrian and blunt without him. The Portuguese coach is trapped in a catch-22 that is not easily solved, though using Pogba in the base of a midfield two is patently not the answer. Alexis Sanchez's arrival has only made the problem worse, with the Chilean a wasteful and ineffective presence rather than the match winner he was signed to be. The last time United hosted a Champions League knockout match at Old Trafford was 4 years ago against Bayern Munich, back when Alexander Butner was lining up at left back under the much-maligned David Moyes. The Scots' reign was plagued by cries of attack, attack, attack from the United faithful, and those same chants returned on Tuesday night. But as bad as many of those performances were under Moyes, this felt somehow worse. United are almost 2 years and £350 million into the Mourinho project, and they have little progress to show for it. There is still little in the way of a coherent attacking plan, nor is there a willingness from the manager to cut the ties to his more pragmatic tendencies. His lineup set the tone, bringing in a worker in the 0.10 role, Jesse Lingard, and a supposed, but not very effective, enforcer in Fellaini. It was a mark of how much he feared conceding an away goal, and that trickled through the rest of the team. They looked nervous and rigid, with an equally tepid display 3 weeks ago in Seville depriving them of a crucial away goal. Only Besiktas, Porto and United have failed to score away from home in the last 16 this season. The most bizarre part of this performance was that, despite never really committing to attack, United still looked so open. And despite having such a good defensive record, the backline still provoked so much anxiety. There is still, admittedly, a sense that this approach from United could have worked against higher caliber opposition, or at the very least been more palatable, as was the case against Liverpool at the weekend. But in the end, against an inferior opponent, United were just too reactionary, too cautious, too negative, too Mourinho.